Hello, my name is Zero. This is going to be a tutorial series pointed at Halo 3 ODST speedrunning. Essentially, I'm going to be trying to go over everything from very new players to very experienced players who wish to get into the run and or want to learn something new. So first things first, I'm just going to go over some fundamentals of HaloRuns. Obviously, our hub site is not speedrun.com, it is haloruns.com, and this is what the site looks like as of now. It's pretty simple. The main thing here, we have the leaderboards here. You always have the full game leaderboards, and you can click on any one of the games to bring up their leaderboards. You can also go to the individual level leaderboard like so. If it'll work. The load times are kind of bad sometimes. And then here you can find all of the individual level times. And then further, if you click on a level, for example, you'll see the IL boards. A few things to go over here on the site are the Discord link right up here. Can also be accessed by going to haloruns.com/discord, which will be in the description. The stream list here, which is also in the Discord, but in case you're just looking to watch some streams of people running Halo, you can look down here. And the rules. We're not really going to go over the wiki or forum because, frankly, those are pretty dead, but the rules are definitely something important, which we will go over a little bit later in this video. Other than that, obviously, if you want to submit times, once you've created an account, you just go to submit times, you choose the game. In this case, we do ODST. And you pretty much just type in the time. As of now, you do not need a video for any submission that is below 80 points. Now, the points are determined by a formula, which I will display on screen for any math nerds, but frankly, I mean, generally, if you're within, it depends on how high the time is. Like, for example, if the coastal world record is 13:37, so you see I'm 22 seconds off, that's 88 points, but for here, for example, I'm only 7 seconds off, and I am 30 points off. So, point is, it scales with the times, and generally you don't need a video link when you're starting out, because most of the time, your times will be below 80 points, but it is good practice to post videos for everything, even if it's under 80 points, in my opinion, but the point is, it's not required. Alright, so now I'd like to go over the HaloRuns Discord. I'd like to make it clear that it's not required for anyone to join the Discord. However, it is very highly encouraged. So when you first join, you want to make sure you take a look at the rules. It's mostly general stuff, but I would advise everyone take a look at them anyway. And then you have a little key here, which shows you the different channels. But for ODST specifically, we're mainly going to go over the Halo 3 ODST channel and the ODST links. So they're pretty simple. Halo 3 ODST is basically the channel where you'll talk about anything regarding ODST. You can post your PBs, talk about strats, anything like that. And then the ODST links channel has pretty much a link to most, I say most because there are some that aren't in here, but most tutorials. This one will also be in there likely. So the ODST links channel is definitely good if you want to learn new things. It just has a lot of tutorials, a lot of, I guess it's kind of like your main resource for learning the game. So if you want to learn a specific strat, you can come in here. For example, hog launch on Terry Plaza. You could watch one of these two tutorials. Actually, I guess we have 3. And it just helps out quite a bit. I do want to make a few things clear, and these kind of go with the rules, but HaloRuns Discord is not for people to come in and ask for achievements and things like that. So if, for example, you need an achievement, please don't go in the Halo 3 ODST channel. If you really want to post it in the HaloRuns Discord, you can go into MCC General here. This is kind of the channel, I guess, for things like that. And if you want to do co-op, you go in cooperative play. But for the most part, that's pretty much the HaloRuns Discord. Obviously, most of the things are self-explanatory, but yeah. Alright, so now I'd like to go over some of the tools that PC-only runners can use to help with practice. And specifically with practice, you are unable to use these two tools in a run, as it would be cheating. But if you come up here and check the pinned messages, you will see that there's the ODST checkpoints trainer and Halo checkpoint manager. You can also find these in the other channels if you're interested in learning another game. Every game except for Halo 5, since it's not on PC, has these. And just to reiterate, you must be on PC. Obviously, you can't really run these on Xbox. And for this to work, you need to install Cheat Engine. I will put a link to that in the description. But the way these work is essentially the checkpoint trainer allows you to just create checkpoints at will, which you will probably see throughout the tutorial series. You're also able to just revert with a hotkey instead of having to go to the menu. You can double revert, you can speed hack, and obviously I think that makes it even more clear that you should not be using this in a run at all. And you could disable natural checkpoints, which is useful for segmenting or strat testing sometimes. And the Halo checkpoint management tool is essentially a checkpoint library, and I'm actually going to cut over to that now just for a little bit better explanation. Alright, so this is Halo Checkpoint Manager in its current state as of making this tutorial. The key things to go over here are you can use this again for all the games, and you do have to remember that you have anti-cheat off when you launch. But for ODST specifically, you can come up to the ODST checkpoints tab here, and essentially what this lets you do is if you have a checkpoint loaded and you press the dump button, that'll put it in here, and that allows you to basically save your checkpoints, I guess, through different game launches, which is really useful, particularly with strats. The only thing I particularly use it for is Coastal, because of the highway skip is actually pretty difficult, and it's good to practice that and maybe find new things. So I have checkpoints for that. I do have some other ones for Mombasa Streets things. But generally, this is just useful, especially when you're learning, to try and practice tricks so you don't have to always play through the entire level to get to a certain point. You just kind of have them here, you can load up the level, and go in. To do that, all you need to do is hit inject, or you can hit inject and force revert, and that'll bring you to the checkpoint. So, it's pretty simple. Obviously, remember, don't use this in runs. Alright, so the last thing I want to go over here is the Autosplitter, and more specifically Live Split. I will have links in the description to all of this, but at least on PC, a tool we use to time is Live Split, and with that we have an Autosplitter, which essentially takes our in-game time and adds it up, and it just allows us to keep track of our time during the run. These are legendary splits, but that doesn't really matter. This will still work for the purpose of this video. And I will have blank splits linked in the description for easy as well. But to turn on the Autosplitter, what you're going to want to do is go to Edit Splits, and then you're going to want to make sure you type in Halo the Master Chief Collection exactly like it is here. So capitalization does not matter, but you must have the colon and you must have the spaces properly placed. Run category does not matter. You could set this to literally anything and it won't change. And then here where it says auto splitting for MCC PC by burnt, by default it's probably going to be deactivated, so you're going to want to hit activate. Now that's pretty much good to go. In order for the auto splitter to work, you need to make sure you're launching the game with the anti-cheat off. Otherwise it just won't work. It goes the same thing with the checkpoint tools. However, I should note that this is allowed in speedruns, so this is not considered cheating, as you're not injecting checkpoints or anything. You are allowed to use this in runs. Most runners do. A few extra things to note here is if you go to settings, You have some extra settings here. So you have IL mode. This is essentially just, this is for if you want to do ILs using splits and keep track using Autosplitter. I don't personally do this. I know some people do. If you want to do something like data hive times 10, for example, you have level loop mode. That'll basically let you save and quit, and then you can replay a level, and it won't end the splits. And then split on unique loading dones. These are sub-splits, which essentially every load you hit in the game, it'll split once. And then you have this as well. This is generally not really useful, especially if you're going to be going back and forth between different loads. But essentially, as it says here, it just splits on non-unique loads. So let's say you enter one load zone, that'll split. If you re-enter the load zone you were just in, that'll also split, I believe. And then you have this stuff here. I don't pay attention to this, but death counter, some people like that. And I guess the revert counter is broken. But yeah, that's the Autosplitter. And the last thing we will go over is the rules. Alright, so as I stated earlier, on the HaloRuns website, you can just find the rules page. We're just going to go over the ones pertinent to ODST. Obviously, you can also just look over these yourself, but I'd like to just make them clear. So these general rules go for all of the games. So you may not use skulls in the menu. You may not use any kind of macros. No modified controllers or keyboard adapters. No emulator runs. Twitch VOD submissions must be highlighted. What that means is if you're streaming to Twitch, you can't just take the actual VOD. You have to highlight it. That way it'll actually stay for longer than 14 or 60 days, depending on if you have Prime or not. IL runs you cannot carry over from previous missions. That will be discussed a bit later in this series, but TLDR is you cannot carry over weapons. And video submissions must be first-person perspective and should, if possible, clearly and accurately show execution of the run. Essentially what this means is generally you should be first-person, and you shouldn't be doing anything super stupid like me and Seclusive once did with an uplift run. Anyway, moving on, we can skip all this since this is for ODST. So ODST is timed IGT, and we will go over that when we get into the next video. But essentially what that means is you must have the in-game timer on at all times, and you're not allowed to wait in pause screens or PGCR. And the thing is, it says excessive waiting. So if you need to pause for like a second, that's fine. Or if you have some sort of justification for it, that's fine. But if you're just pausing to, for no reason, you shouldn't be doing that. I would generally say you shouldn't be pausing for extended periods of time unless there's actually something you really have to attend to. Obviously, it just doesn't really look good for a run. So, for the full game rules, we will probably go over these a bit further in the series, but run starts on the prepare to drop cutscene, and it ends upon getting in the Phantom on Coastal Highway. The final time is, as I said, sum of individual level times. This means IGT, also known as PGCR. Runs must be started from the prepare to drop menu option, not the recon helmet rally point. We will go over this in the next video, or sorry, the third video I think in the series. The bottom line is a lot of people when they're new will start from the recon helmet rally point of Mombasa streets, which is for a lot of convoluted reasons actually different from the prepare to drop cutscene. So you just want to make sure you're starting on the prepare to drop cutscene. And then your full game video submissions must have full gameplay from beginning and end, showing all PGCR times, or all theater film gameplay shown in order without cuts, and you must be able to prove your PGCR times. And I don't think it says it here, but you also you must show the prepare to drop cutscene in the video. So it's not timed, but you must show the cutscene in the video. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but you can just skip it. And if a run is interrupted by a save or quit or crash, you may resume, but spending an excessively long time away from the game after a crash is not allowed. So that's the full game things. The IL rules are pretty simple. It's just IGT, and you can't, same thing with no excessive waiting. And yeah, we won't really go over co-op because these rules are a little bit irrelevant from what we're going for here, but those are pretty much the rules. So yeah, I hope this has been informational, and we will get into actual tricks and movement and stuff in the next video.